माननीय सभासदों, माननीय उपसभापति जी।
Statement by Minister S Jaishankar. Please make.
Honorable Chairman, sir, I rise to apprise this august House of recent developments pertaining to the welfare abroad of Indians, non-resident Indians, and persons of Indian origin in the COVID situation. This is a subject on which many honorable members have expressed deep interest. We, in the Ministry of External Affairs, also regularly receive communications relating to individual cases and respond to the best of our ability. Such concern is natural, and I take this opportunity to place before the House a comprehensive picture on the global state of affairs as a result of COVID, its impact on our people, and the government's response to the challenges that emerged. Honorable members would be aware that the big issue through the last year was to address the situations of difficulty and distress that many stranded Indians faced abroad. The Prime Minister directed that we undertake the Vande Bharat mission to bring back our countrymen and women home. This was an all of the government effort involving the Ministries of External Affairs, Civil Aviation, Home Affairs, Health, Defence and Shipping, amongst others. A total of 45,82,043 people from 98 countries have returned to India under the aegis of the Vande Bharat mission. The vast majority came through flights, though there were also some who came by ship and land crossings. Kerala received the maximum returnees, followed by Delhi, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. UAE was a country from where the maximum number of stranded Indians returned, followed by Saudi Arabia, USA and Qatar. 39% of the returnees were workers, 39% professionals, 6% students, about 8% visitors and 4.7% standard tourists. Honorable Chairman, sir, while organizing the return home, the government was also focusing on ensuring that our people were provided the necessary amenities in foreign countries. This applied to those awaiting repatriation as well as those who stayed behind. It involved a vast range of activities that were coordinated by our embassies and high commissions. They included providing food, shelter and transportation, to supplying masks, PPEs and medical support, and even facilitating hospital stays. It involved intense and continuous interactions with foreign governments, proactive and responsive measures by our embassy staff, and close coordination with community organizations abroad. Government expended an amount of Rs 33.5 crores from the Indian Community Welfare Fund, whose mandate was perceptively broadened by the government in 2017 with such contingencies in mind. I should also add that we facilitated the return from India of more than 1.1 lakh foreign passport holders to 120 countries in the same period. Many of them were PIOs and NRIs. Members would appreciate that the largest repatriation exercise in the history of the world could not have happened without the goodwill and cooperation of partner governments. And if that was so forthcoming, it is because of the enormous efforts that this government's diplomacy, starting from the Prime Minister personally, whether it was reaching out, invoking relationships, using our networking or engaging in direct contacts, we really went all out to ensure the welfare of our brothers and sisters abroad. And let me emphasize this. At the end of the day, the sympathetic response of others reflected their positive image of us. Indeed, this was a real testimony of India's enhanced global standing as a result of 6 years of exceptionally energetic diplomacy. The focus of our efforts in the last few months has now shifted to Indians going back to the usual places of work, study and domicile. To that end, our government has concluded air transport bubbles that are temporary reciprocal arrangements for commercial passenger services until the resumption of regular international flights. Such arrangements have been concluded with 27 nations so far. The Air India group alone has operated more than 9,500 flights under this, taking 10.9 lakh passengers abroad. The largest numbers, not surprisingly, have gone to the Gulf. During the pandemic, our Prime Minister had declared that the government would take care of both lives and livelihood, and it is this guidance that has been the basis for our activities of our diplomacy abroad. Honourable Chairman, sir, just as the government has led the way for an economic recovery at home, we are also similarly untiring in our efforts to help renew livelihoods for our people abroad. The air travel arrangements are a necessary enabling measure. But beyond that, we have been active in urging our partner governments to look sympathetically at the employment of our citizens as they chart their own recovery pathway. The Gulf has been a focal point of our endeavours, though this is a global effort on our part. In recent months, the Prime Minister has engaged leaders of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, and Oman. Under his directions, I have travelled even during the COVID to UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, and Oman to discuss with the governments there the welfare of our people. Because of restrictions at their end, such travel was not possible to Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, but I have been in regular touch with their foreign ministers. Minister of State Sri Muralidharan ji, on his part, has also gone to Oman and UAE. I have recently hosted the UAE Foreign Minister in India and expect to do so with Kuwait very soon. During our visits to the Gulf, we have interacted with both representative community organizations and partner governments. From the community, the overall picture was that our people were well taken care of during the pandemic by host authorities. From the governments, the message was of appreciation for the responsibility shown by our people amidst the pressures of the pandemic. We were told that the message of discipline and social distancing that was so strongly propagated by our leadership at home had an equally strong impact abroad. The support extended from India for the stay and travel of our citizens was warmly acknowledged by community and governments alike. The provision of medical supplies and food items from India as an exceptional gesture to the Gulf during this period clearly had a powerful resonance. So did the arrival of health professionals and medical staff, especially the dedicated medical team that we sent to Kuwait. From our recent interactions, we have reason to expect that partner governments in the Gulf would be helpful in facilitating the early return of many of those who were compelled to go back during the pandemic. Honourable Chairman, sir, the government is fully cognizant of the employment concerns that our people abroad have in the context of the pandemic. Especially in the Gulf, there has been tremendous economic and social disruption that has impacted them. We have softened it somewhat, but the real challenges are there to be addressed. Let me assure the House that we take this as a priority. Both my MOS and myself, and indeed our ambassadors and senior officials, spend time and efforts to go into these problems in the greatest of details. We have been in touch with the most community organizations and get a regular feedback on both the health situation and economic recovery. We are aware that there are problems of compensation, re-employment, and reskilling that need solutions. And these are today the core of our agenda with our partner governments. The welfare of students studying abroad has also been of particular concern to us. Across the world, our embassies were given instructions to reach out to them, monitor their situation, and assist their return where required. As with workers and professionals, the focus has now shifted to the going back to universities. Some countries have been more open in this regard than others, obviously reflecting their particular COVID challenge. This, therefore, remains a high priority, and our endeavour will be to encourage an early return to normalcy. Seafarers have been another category requiring particular attention. We have worked with shipping companies across the world to ensure the well-being and, where required, return to India. The challenges presented by crew change procedures were daunting, but the flexibility shown by various stakeholders allowed us to overcome them. Members would recall the predicament of two crews who were in particular difficulty outside Chinese ports. Their predicament too was eventually resolved through greater perseverance. We continue to interact with many governments to devise more friendly SOPs for crew change requirements. Our fishermen have also been affected by the difficulties arising from the pandemic. We saw in particular serious problems faced by those who are working out of Iran. Some Gulf nations also witnessed this, perhaps to a lesser degree. Many members have expressed their anxieties on this point. Here too, the repatriation phase is over and the re-employment one has just started. Honorable Chairman, sir, in conclusion, let me underline that from the very beginning, the Modi government has been deeply committed to the welfare and protection of Indians abroad. And equally, we value and nurture our relationship with PIOs. The COVID pandemic was a test of our commitment on this matter, as on so many others. And whether it was the problems of the worker or the student, the professional or the tourist, we have risen to the occasion. A huge collective effort by nameless and faceless individuals from our embassies and other organizations in India and abroad made that possible. Like the nation at home, they too were inspired by the leadership and vision of the Prime Minister. I wish to assure this august House that in the days ahead, as our quest for normalcy progresses, as the global marketplace and workplace resume activities, as centers of study reopen their doors, we will be there to encourage, facilitate, secure, and support. Thank you.
Thank you. Clarification, Mani Trichu Sivaji.
Thank you, Deputy Chairman, sir. Sir, first of all, I extend my appreciations and congratulations to the Minister who has helped to all our requests during the pandemic to help the NRIs who are abroad. And it should be mentioned here, sir, that many were evacuated even at that crucial situation, students as well as workers there. And it was a very immediate response that the Minister responded just through an email or a WhatsApp message. And sir, what I appreciate all the statement he has made now. And my simple query is, many have decided to stay here, not to go back. Does the government have any plans? What are the measures you are going to take to keep them here? Because many have given up their jobs and have come here and they are now living without any source of livelihood. So apart from those who want to go back and your steps by way of interacting with those governments, I would like to know, because many have represented to me that they have come back and settled here, and what the government has for their future. If the Minister could explain about that, I would be thankful, sir.
Thank you. Mani Anand.
Sir, I also fully endorse what He has said. And going through the statement of the External Affairs Minister, and many of us who have during the period of lockdown and when there were curbs globally, personally experienced how this national effort was made involving the Ministry of External Affairs, for that matter, the various other departments of the government, civil aviation, and also our missions abroad. And it would be in order, therefore, for us to place on record our deep appreciation, both for our officers in the Ministry of External Affairs, the Minister himself, and our missions abroad. They have been very receptive, very helpful in bringing back thousands of stranded Indians. There were many occasions when I personally reached out, when parents contacted us, in many cases the stranded students or the other citizens, and there was prompt response. I have personal experience of having helped through the government hundreds and hundreds of students and others during this critical period. The issues are, and Honorable Minister has referred to that though, one is about our workers in the Gulf, in the Middle East, who have come back. Yes, the economies have been disrupted, both the social and economic. It has impacted, not only here, but worldwide. Now, that has also affected our inward remittances because they lost their jobs, they could not send money, and they have come back. It has also affected a large number of families, as the Minister is aware, and you have alluded to that. those who are returning, it will take time for normalcy to return and for them to get the same employment opportunities which existed prior to the pandemic. Many may not be able to go back even this year because of lack of opportunity. What will be done for them is the Government of India, along with the state governments, as you have said, you're talking to the governments of those countries, but within our country, where a large number of workers go, for example, from Kerala or southern states, and also some states in the north, Haryana and others, what is being done for that? Secondly, about the students. They have lost 1 year. And parents had paid the fee, but nobody can be blamed for that situation. As normalcy returns, will there be a special cell monitoring the students' case so that they can go back to the universities and complete their education?
Thank you. Mani Praful Patel.
We all compliment the overall efforts the government and all stakeholders have put in to bring our stranded fellow Indians back from most of the countries where they were residing, and especially the Gulf areas where the Honorable Minister has read in his statement. While things are getting back to normal, a lot of issues still need to be addressed. As he has pointed out, that air bubble arrangements are there with 27 countries. I think we need to do a little bit more, especially east of India. I think we are having very few arrangements with the countries. So a lot of people who are the Western world or the Gulf areas, things are okay, but or getting better, but at least on the eastern front, there is a problem. The second thing I would like to request the Minister, as businesses are coming back to normalcy within our country at least, a lot of business travel, especially for technical and trained people from overseas to come to India to help, some industries are being set up, some, there are different exchange of technical information. For that, physical presence of people in India is also required. I think we should try to be a little bit more understanding for the needs of local industry. If somebody has to, some technical people or others have to come from overseas, our regulation should be slightly flexible to make it a little, easier for businesses to come back to normal.
Thank you. Mani Professor Manoj Jha.
Honorable Deputy Chairman, sir, I join my colleagues in complimenting Honorable Minister, sir, for making it very smooth. However, I think, and he's aware, that there were certain countries from where there were issues which was difficult to handle. But particularly, I'm aware of Bihari students, medical students in Russia. A pocket. That is number one. Number two, in Gulf and Middle East countries, large number of people from Bihar and Eastern UP, they are there, and they have come back, and probably forever. I know it is not in your personal domain, sir, but right behind you is Honorable Finance Minister. Please make sure that the workers who have come back from Gulf and Middle Eastern countries, they are accommodated and provided security as per the norms. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Manoj Jha. Mani Naresh Gujral.
So first of all, I'd like to compliment the government, the Honorable Minister, and all the officers who went out of their way to help fellow Indians during this pandemic. On a couple of occasions, I reached out to the Foreign Minister's office and I got immediate response from them. Sir, my one question is that many of our fellow Indians lost their lives abroad. And in many cases, their accounts abroad still have to be settled by their employers. Would the Minister ensure that help desks are set up in the embassies so that families here who are stuck, who need to get that money back from the employers of their deceased relatives, receive immediate help, and also if the telephone numbers of these help desks are publicized through TV and the media. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Mr. 1 minute, please. Mani LOP.
Just I want to seek one clarification regarding the Pravas Bharatiya Bima Yojana, which is meant for, it is an insurance scheme meant for people who are working abroad. So government's own reply in Lok Sabha shows that the number of beneficiaries covered, amount claims settled, as well as the number of claims settled has all gone down consistently since 2014 and 15. The number of claims settled per year has gone down from 336 in 2014-15 to just 41. Here in the statement, all right, okay, whatever good work is done, we have to appreciate, there is no doubt about that. But in the answer to the start question, the claims, nearly 336 people have claimed. Out of them, only 41 cases were settled. It means the government is not working properly on this scheme. And the amount claims settled per year has also gone down from 20 crores 55 lakhs 14-15. Now it has come only 3 crores 72 lakhs. It means that how this Pravasi Bharati Yojana is implemented and how many people got benefit. And this is very unfortunate. One side we announce, other side we don't implement properly, but still we get praise for all the works.
Thank you.
That's why I want to ask how much money you have kept and how much money you have spent these schemes.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, sir. So first of all, through you, I want to say that I appreciate all the positive sentiments that members have expressed. So if I were to take the common issues, because that makes many of them raised very similar issues, I think the first issue is of workers, our workers abroad, especially in the Gulf. Now, our main endeavor is to get them back. And if I were to say what is today the focus of our engagement with the Gulf, it is to see, because they also will prioritize, in terms of their recovery. As you know, they take expatriates from many countries. So sometimes it's a question of whether they lean a little bit more towards us or not. So if we are able, our expectation is that as their recovery picks up, if we are able to get our workers back there on a priority, that I think is the biggest service that we can do there. Now, having recognized that, I would also say, yes, there will be situations where people either will not go back or will have delays in going back. So I think honorable members are very reasonably asking what happens to those people. Now, we have tried from the very beginning, we started actually a skills mapping program, so that especially for workers coming back from the Gulf, they were giving us data so that there is data available here, which we have then sent out to state governments about what are the skills of people who are returning. So to some extent, our expectation is that state governments and employers will use the data that we have provided through this, it's called Swadesh, the mapping scheme, so that they have a sense of the skills which are available. Now, in terms of what are the employment opportunities for these people at home, I think Shri Manoj Jha ji very rightly pointed to Finance Minister sitting behind me, because I think from the budget that she has presented, it is very clear there's going to be a very strong recovery, and high growth will mean good employment prospects. So I think many of their prospects will come out of economic developments at home. The second issue was students. I think there's a big challenge there. There's a big challenge there because in many cases, some universities have permitted them to return. In many cases, they are keeping them online. Now, our endeavor in every case has been to ensure that they don't lose a year. So I think many of the concerns which Anand Sharma ji expressed, for example, are very valid. That, how do you make sure that they don't lose an academic year? We are not only trying to make sure they don't lose a year, we are actually trying to make sure they can get back as soon as possible. Obviously, in some countries it is easier, in some countries it is harder. On the issue of the bubble, can we do more bubbles? Absolutely. We are talking to everybody. In fact, today our priorities for bubble would be one, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait in the west, Japan, China, Singapore in the east, because this is really where these are countries where bubbles have so far not really worked so well. Again, we are very cognizant of it. We will keep extending bubbles as we go along. Insofar as the issue of the Pravasi Bharat Bima Yojana is concerned, I think Leader of Opposition has brought up an issue. I'd be very happy to look into the claims, but I don't think it's an issue of what were the claims before and what are the claims that are settled. I think the issue would be what were the claims raised and what were the percentage of that settled. I'd be very happy to look into that and give him a detailed reply. I don't have the exact numbers with me right now, and I would not obviously like to convey anything inaccurate to the House.
Thank you. Bill for introduction. The Insurance Amendment Bill 2021. Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman to move for leave to introduce the Insurance Amendment Bill 2021.
Thank you, sir. I rise to move for leave to introduce